Hi, Democrats. Today is Wednesday, November 2nd. It's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Wednesday. Can you feel it? Can you feel the energy? Early voting started today, and I feel like I can feel people casting their votes all over the state. I am super excited because that's where we are. We are voting. Oklahoma is the last state to start early in-person voting, but it has started. So you have the rest of today, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday until noon to cast your ballot if you wanted to do it early. And then you have until then you have all day 7 to 7 on Tuesday. We are getting close. We're getting close. You guys can hear me start talking about different things, but we're getting close. And I want to make sure that you have your plan to vote. You know how you're going to vote. And in the spirit of that, I will again tell you guys my plan to vote. I have my absentee ballot. I will be turning my absentee ballot in on Saturday. That's my plan. What's yours? All righty. So yesterday, I talked a little bit about how decency is on the ballot, how education is on the ballot. But today, I think it's important that I hammer that home, If you know me, you know I consider myself to be partisan. But by the nature of my job, I'm partisan. But this election is about more than the D, the R, the L that's in front of your name. This election is about what is right versus what is wrong. What moves our state forward versus what keeps our state, I don't know, what moves us back into the 1950s. That's what's on the ballot this cycle. I'm gonna give some very specific examples, right? So in the governor's race, we have Joy Hoffmeister against scandal, corruption, cronyism, against the Swatley scandal, the Epic still owing us money and that audit trying to be suppressed, against the voucher scheme, the governor's appointed folks all having to step down as a result of different scandals, hydrochloroquine, just all of this stuff that we know our current governor to be. We know that. And then we have Joy Hoffmeister, who in her term, she's not been subject to scandal in her term as superintendent of public instruction. It's a very clear choice. And that's not about the D and the R. There is someone running for independent, someone running as an unaffiliated, someone running as a libertarian, but these are the two front runners. And it truly is. And it's not about casting a protest vote, because a protest vote gives the current governor 2 votes. That's really, if you just do the math, that's how it works. So if you care about decency, if you want to fight against having someone in that office who is plagued by scandal and corruption, Joy is your choice. Joy is your choice. With regards to the U.S. Senate seat, the one that needs a vacancy filled, we have Kendra versus, and I'm trying not to say the name of the other person because it's not important. I just want you to understand. We have Kendra Horn versus someone who promised to only serve 2 terms, who is now in the middle, I think, of his 4th term, promised to serve 2 terms, and his personal wealth has grown exponentially. He went from reporting somewhere between 5 and 7% when he 7 million when he first got elected to now he's worth somewhere between, I think it's $71 and $90 million. Honestly, that is a surge in personal wealth. These last 2 folks are in it for what they can get. You know, I forgot to mention that our current governor got a bank as a result of his election. Got a bank as a result of his election. It's about decency, what is right and what is wrong. We have Susan Carl Young, who's running for, because it's all up and down the ballot. Susan Carl Young, who's running for a House seat in East Tulsa, Claremore, Catoosa. A retired social worker who is a hard worker, who is a philanthropist in her community, against someone who has 5 felony indictments and 3 misdemeanor indictments, who is going to court. This isn't supposition. This isn't Democrats being mean about somebody. This isn't whispers. It's been in the paper. You can check it out. He had 5 felonies, 3 misdemeanors. He's on the ballot against a retired social worker who gives back to her community and volunteers for several organizations. We have Vicky Bahana, who's running for DA in Oklahoma County against someone who is under current investigation by the OSBI, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. That's a current investigation. We have Charles DeCoon, who's running for state treasurer. He's running against someone that the FDIC basically said that he makes unsafe and unsound banking practices. The bank that he was the vice president under, they got audited, and the result was unsafe, unsound banking practices. And this is the guy who's running to be the state treasurer. The FDIC, and they're like the bank police, the FDIC said he's unsafe and unsound. We don't want that for our treasurer. We shouldn't want that for our treasurer. And so I look at this list, and I've said to you several times, take the candidates, take the D and the R and the L and the unaffiliated away from their names, and just read their qualifications and read who they've shown us that they are. Read who they are and what they've shown us who they are. And I think you will make the choice to vote for the candidates that I know, because decency is on the ballot. I want to remind you guys that this is Native American Heritage Month. November is Native American Heritage Month. And I'm not done talking about the guy who's running for state treasurer, who is not Charles DeCoon, who I want you to vote for, Charles DeCoon. The guy who's running for state treasurer, who wants to be our state treasurer in the state of Oklahoma, once said on the House floor, because he's a former representative, that Native Americans are predisposed to alcohol abuse. He said that in 2016. He didn't say that back in 1865 or he said that in 2016. We don't need that person on our cabinet. That is despicable. What is on the ballot, thank you so very much, Frida. Glad that you voted. What is on the ballot right now is what is right and what is wrong, what is good for Oklahoma and what is not good for Oklahoma. And so I want to talk about our congressional delegation, or I don't need to talk about it. Let me show you something.
Oklahoma's congressional delegation does not support Oklahoma. Support for capping insulin prices. Support for rural broadband access. Support for women's right to choose. Support for student loan forgiveness. Support for better roads and bridges. Support for our military veterans. Support for lowering gas prices. Support for our children. Oklahoma, we have choices this November, but use them wisely before they take away all of our choices for good.
And that's the thing. We have choices. We don't have to settle for people who are being investigated by the OSBI. We don't have to settle for someone who is getting his day in court for felony charges. And some of those we already know. We already know that he's guilty of, right? We don't need to settle for someone who hires his friends and tries to figure out how to make them more rich. We don't need to settle for somebody who took PPP loan for himself and decided that the rest of us weren't eligible. We don't have to. We don't have to vote for people who voted against capping insulin and all. We have choices of real, decent human beings. And the things in that last little video, those are real. Our entire delegation voted against those things, even though they would have helped Oklahoma. We have choices. I mean, you saw it. We have Kendra Horn, who's running to fulfill the seat left vacant by Jen Emhoff. We have Madison Horn, who's running against James Langford, who is actually out there campaigning for other folks in other states, more so than he's here. We have Adam Martin, who's running in CD1, who's running against Kevin Hearn, who restructured PPP to make sure that he got the most amount of PPP. In CD2, which is left open by the guy who didn't think that he represented us, we have Naomi Andrews, who's running against someone who's been financed by a voucher pack. In CD3, we have Jeremiah Ross, who's an attorney, who's running against Frank Lucas, who's there, and people say is a nice guy, but what is his positive impact on our state? I haven't seen it. In CD4, we have Mary Brannon, a retired teacher who running against Tom Cole, another person that people say is nice, but what is he doing for our state? When our military barracks were rife with mold, who stepped up to deal with that? That was Kendra Horn. That wasn't Tom Cole. That was Kendra Horn. In CD5, we have Joshua Harris Till, who's absolutely been involved in his community since college, who's running for Congress in CD5 against Stephanie Bice, who is absent from her district. And she was on the job 3 days before she signed on to the insurrection nonsense that happened on January 6th. That's who our folks are running against. We have real choices. We have decent human beings that are running. We do not have to vote for who the other side is willing to put up with, because I don't even know if it's their choice. It's who they're willing to put up with. We need to make a choice, educate ourselves about those folks. The scandals that I talked about, the lack of decency that I referenced, are all very easy to research, because I try never to talk in stuff but guesswork and stuff like that can't be verified by fact. Go look it up. You don't have to look up what shenanigans our current governor has been up to. You don't have to look that up. You know what your choice is there. You don't. I didn't mention Gina because I will mention Gina. You have Gina against a guy who put no controls over Class Wallet and allowed folks to buy Christmas trees and lawnmowers that were supposed to be to help their kids get through education during COVID. I mean, it's rampant, the mismanagement and the refusal to serve Oklahoma that is happening right now. And it's real easy to make a better choice. It's real easy to make a better choice. If you want to know about the candidates, because I'm talking fast, know about the candidates that I'm supporting, please go out to okdemocrats.org and click on vote and look at our candidates. There's a link to their website, link to their social media, link to whatever videos they've done, so you can get to know them as human beings. You get to know what they stand for. Because I'm asking you, pleading with you to please vote for decency, because that's what's on the ballot right now. Decency. If your plan was to vote on Wednesday, if your plan was to vote on the first day of early voting, you still have a few minutes. So please get out there, vote. If it wasn't, educate as many people as you can, make your plan, solidify your plan, and get out the vote. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back here tomorrow at 4:15.